For years, we have been covering the fraudulence of Ilhan Omar on this channel, but now my blood is boiling as her total and complete money laundering has been laid bare in a move that is going to enrage you. Here's just one example of us, almost 5 million views, 40,000 reposts, 100,000 likes. Us exposing that Ilhan Omar has a fake winery. It is a fake winery. It's not real. It doesn't make real wine. It doesn't exist. You can't buy the wine. It doesn't have a location, a vineyard. It doesn't have any wine bottles. There's no wine being made. You can see, though, right here, Ilhan Omar claims that her winery is worth $5 million. So Ilhan Omar is claiming that this asset that doesn't exist is somehow worth $5 million in her bank account. Now, why would you do something like that? Money laundering. That's why. You don't know where to put the money. You know it's going to show up on a financial audit. And so you need to just claim that an asset is worth this amount. And it's totally subjective unless somebody actually looks into it. And we did look into it, and it's clear that not only is this fraudulent, but also if you pull the records, you'll find that the owner of the winery at one point, which is Ilhan Omar's third husband, not her brother husband, the other husband, was sued for fraud. He was sued for fraud. You can pull the lawsuit right now. They settled out of court, which is what you do when you're innocent, right? You can see they was sued for fraud because the winery wasn't real. And the partners said this isn't a real winery. But anyway, they were able to write this off along with her husband's Rose Lake Capital. This is allegedly worth $25 million. So Ilhan Omar is immediately worth up to $30 million overnight. Now, she entered Congress $95,000 in debt, student debt, car loan debt. That was all available on her financial disclosures. And you can see this disclosure right here. This is from the House of Representatives. So if you lie on this form, it is a crime. This is the form that lets people know where all of your assets are so that everyone can understand that you're not insider trading, that you're not selling America's secrets, where your wealth is as a member of Congress. Because again, you are being reimbursed by the taxpayers. They have a right to know. So this is what Ilhan Omar posted, and it caused a lot of concern. Like, wait a second, how did you make $30 million overnight? You're obviously part of a Somali fraud community that runs fraudulent daycares, grocery stores, hospice centers, and everything else. Also, there have been 95 Somalis that have been charged and indicted, many of them pleading guilty, to a cash for food scam where they claim to be feeding little children, but weren't feeding any children at all. Who wrote that program? Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is seen at these restaurants. It's called the Feeding Our Future scam. And Ilhan Omar is the one who wrote the legislation. So anyway. Where did all the money go? Well, this is called money laundering. They're claiming that these assets are worth this amount of money so they can move the cash, right? So when that amount of money appears in their bank account, they can't say that it's from Feeding Our Future. They can't say that it's from the fake daycares. They have to try and tie it to a real asset. Well, anyway, it's all blowing up in their faces. And now Ilhan Omar has hit the reverse button and hit it hard. Representative Omar says that the discrepancy on her financial disclosure listing, $30 million net worth, insists she's not a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. No. There's a discrepancy. Actually, I'm only worth $80,000. This is wild. Minnesota State Representative blamed for a discrepancy in errors financial disclosure listed her worth up to $30 million, doubling down that she's not a millionaire, the report said. The lefty squad lawmaker facing a fraud probe calls President Trump, insists the initial figure in the disclosure last May were completely off base, and amended the filing shows that she shared assets with her husband up to $95,000. Oh, got it. So now she's not worth $30 million. She's worth just like, it's like kind of the average of what a lot of people just kind of like have as a net worth, right? Depending on your home, mortgage, and whatever. The original disclosures signal a striking income skyrocket, listing Ilhan Omar's husband's held assets as valued up to $30 million, a 3,500% increase in net worth. The inflated figures stemmed from my net's two businesses, a California winery. Although the winery's assets were valued between $1 million and $5 million, DC firm Rose Lake Capital, $5 million, $25 million. By comparison, the winery was just valued at $15,000 the year before. The amended filing, though, reviewed by the Journal, put the couple's assets at $18,000, between $18,000 and $95,000. Got it. So they went from being hundreds of, like, multi-millionaire to having what would be considered a modest sum, certainly by congressional net worths, right? Which can soar into the hundreds of millions. Well, the juice up numbers sent shockwaves through Capitol Hill, fueling scrutiny of the skyrocketing wealth, speculation that she had secret millions tied to Omar. She said she reviewed the filings and the submission before staggering errors, glaring mistakes. Oh, okay. What mistakes could they possibly be? Fox News put it really well.
I have a question for you. Have you ever accidentally thought that you were a multimillionaire? Well, Ilhan Omar says she is not a multimillionaire. And look at this headline from the Wall Street Journal. She thought she was, though. Omar was standing down. Look at this headline. Ilhan Omar says she isn't a multimillionaire, blames accounting error. Okay, so an accounting error led her to believe she was very wealthy. Well, Omar was staring down a potential investigation after disclosing that she and her husband's assets were valued between $6 million and $30 million.
Okay. This ain't going to fly. Liabilities don't just erase wealth. Ilhan Omar says her congressional financial reports, massive accounting error. Her husband is only worth $18,000 now, not the $30 million that I other reported. My liabilities erase my wealth. By the way, that's not how it works. Ilhan Omar's accounting error exposed. Now she's broke. Okay. Yeah, right. Last year, the same business as now. After the $20 billion Minnesota welfare fraud scandal, billions looted from the taxpayers and Somali defendants, Omar fixes it to just $95,000. Claims she's not a millionaire, and she swore the original was accurate under penalty of perjury. She needs to be arrested for this. This is the same radical who defended Somali fraudster networks in her district and also asked that ISIS terrorists get let out of jail by a judge. The Trump administration needs to prosecute this stuff. This is where it becomes personal to me, right? So, like, her reported assets she suddenly loses $28 million overnight. No, what happened was that she moved the money. That's what I think happened. If I were to guess, I would say she found a correct way to launder the money. She had that amount of money in her bank account. Now it's all in Somalia, right? Where she's eventually going to be deported. That's what ultimately, like, there's no other explanation for this. No other explanation. She has to be investigated, and investigated now. Ilhan Omar is panicking right now. It was not an accident. Somali pirate has sent all the loot back to Somalia. She's being investigated by the Congressional Ethics Committee. She's now denying she's a multimillionaire. What J.D. Vance told me was that Ilhan Omar, they have the proof that she is, in fact, a fraud and that she lied on her immigration forms. And this is what needs to be investigated first thing. They say they have the proof. Here's what J.D. Vance told me, just as a reminder. Ilhan Omar needs to be arrested and deported. Here you go.
Talk about Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz. And obviously, Ilhan Omar, the president and the White House have been out saying that she married her brother, that there is immigration fraud going on here. These are deportable denaturalization offenses. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, so we actually think that Ilhan Omar definitely committed immigration fraud against the United States of America. And I talked to Stephen Miller about this actually recently. We're trying to look at what the remedies are. That's the thing that we're trying to figure out, is what are the legal remedies now that we know that she's committed immigration fraud? How do you go after her? How do you investigate her? How do you actually do the thing? How do you build the case necessary to get some justice for the American people? There's a related issue, Benny, which is she has been at the center of a lot of the worst fraudsters in the Somalian community. So do I know that Ilhan Omar was aware that the Quality Leering Center was defrauding the American people? I'm not certain of it, but we at least need to investigate it, because if people can commit wrongdoing without even the fear that they're going to be found out, that's a fundamental problem. So I'm worried about the immigration fraud. I'm also worried about, what did Ilhan Omar know about what was happening in the Somali community, and why was nobody looking into it until, frankly, Donald Trump came along?